Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is David, this is David K Reacts, and today I'm going to be bringing to the channel something that's actually been quite heavily requested on the VoicePlay Discord quite some time ago now. But a lot of people there, after I'd started posting on the Discord, asked me to do Eleanor Rigby. And I was thinking, I don't know why, I've just been having a bit of time recently where I've been thinking about older songs, and it just seemed like a really fun one to cover. I have no idea what VoicePlay is going to do with it. Of course, it's a very famous song by the Beatles. Now, this came out... Oh, goodness, I'm not going to remember this without checking. This came out in... when was it? Oops. 1966. And this was actually a double A-side with Yellow Submarine. The Beatles actually have the largest number of double A-sides of any band. They have 6. For those who are not aware, because I realise that's slightly older terminology, A-side and B-side referred to the two sides of a record. And long into CDs, B-sides were the tracks that were part of an album or released with a single, but were not as... They weren't being as pushed by the publishers or the band or whoever it was. The A-side was the focus. That would be the big single that everybody heard. And, you know, an EP even, or a single. An artist's single used to be released with 3 tracks on it, or 4 tracks. A couple of them might be remixes of the prime, the A-side, the song, you know, if the single was, I don't know, Wish I Had an Angel by Nightwish. Wish I Had an Angel would be there. There might be a radio mix of it or something like that. And then there'd be 1 or 2 other songs, and those would be the B-sides. Double A-sides meant they were pushing both songs at the same time. And of course, Yellow Submarine and Eleanor Rigby, both exceptionally well known. They're from the album Revolver. This was around the time that the Beatles were moving away from being a sort of rock and pop band and slightly starting to become a little more experimental. They weren't as far as Sgt. Pepper's yet, but they were starting to move in that direction. So I love Eleanor Rigby. I think it's a great piece of music. I haven't listened to it for quite a long time, and I decided not to do so before I watch this. I just want to go in and see what this is like. I do know that Paul McCartney wrote this at the piano. He was just noodling on the piano and came up with the melody for this, and sort of slowly came up with a couple of lyrics that kind of struck him, and it all sort of started coming out of there. And I know he brought, I think just the first verse, or was it verse and chorus? I'm not sure. But he brought a small section of the song to the band, and they began to develop it out from there. Probably, I think, with other help, I'm not sure. But it has become an exceptionally well-known song, credited to Lennon and McCartney as the songwriters, which a lot of the Beatles stuff was. There's a fly right in front of my secondary screen. Excuse me. Okay, apologies. Yes, so, you know, very well-known song, and I'm excited to see what VoicePlay does with it. This is interesting to me because I've just seen their most recent cover of an older song, or one of the most recent. I realise as I say this, I'm trying to think what they've just released. But In the Air Tonight, of course, was my last VoicePlay reaction, and this time I'm doing another older song, but this is also older in their canon too. So this was actually released in... Oh, I say that, it's only 2021, but it's further... It's before I started reacting, by quite a stretch, year and a half. But it's certainly older in terms of the couple of the songs I've covered recently. I don't think I have an awful lot more to add to this. Oh, I did. I meant to actually look up, and I realised I didn't get round to it, what the recognition was and the certification. So it is... Eleanor Rigby is gold in the UK. It reached #1 on a multitude of charts, including the UK Record Retailer chart, and in New Zealand, Canada, Belgium, and Australia, apparently, and got to number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100. All of which is very impressive. So yeah, I'm just really keen to see what VoicePlay does with this, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be something really cool. So yes, without saying too much more, I do first want to say welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time. If it is, I'm going to watch this video straight through from beginning to end, and not interrupt it, and I'm just going to emote and comment over the top, and then I will go back, watch it again, pausing it, and offering what commentary and analysis I feel like I can. Please do like the video, please do subscribe, and I have to say thank you so very much to everybody. I am over 2,000 subscribers, and that feels incredible. Really is an extraordinary thing that I started this in October. And I know a lot of other channels grow faster than mine is, but also most other channels don't do 45-minute plus videos. So I'm very, very grateful to everybody who is supporting me. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And yeah, this is just an incredible thing to have done. And I'm really grateful. I wanted to hit it before the beginning of August. I was about a week behind that, and I'm delighted that we got there. Here's to many, many more. But yes, please do subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you can determine how often you hear about my videos being posted. And if you would care to, please do head over to buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReacts, and there you can donate to support the channel, if you would care to do so. And I would like to say a very big thank you to Janet Wright, who recently bought me several coffees, and I am very grateful to you for that. Thank you very much indeed for the donation. Without any further delay, I think that's it. Let's go in to see what VoicePlay does with Eleanor Rigby. Ooh. This is Toccata and Fugue in B minor. Okay.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been.
I love that gothic setup. Both the music and the visuals.
Window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? All the lonely people. Where do they all come from?
Oh, that's nice. Oh, nice. I like that. Good drop. This is really cool. Woohoo! Yes, Ellie.
No one comes near. Look at them working. Down in the socks in the night when there's nobody there.
Ooh, that's nice.
For all the lonely people.
Ooh. Oh, that harmony. Wow.
All the lonely people. Where do they all belong?
Yeah.
Look at all the lonely people.
Oh. Oh, these extra harmonies they're adding are so good. I mean, of course they are.
Was buried along with a name, and nobody came. Father Mackenzie wiping the dirt from his hands as he walks from the grave.
Oh, that's fun.
Where do they come from?
Ooh. Oh, I like that. Oh. Oh. Gorgeous.
Eleanor Rigby.
This is so good. Ooh. Atmospheric album cover there as well. I like that. The just everything being a little out of focus. That's a nice touch. Of course, Drunken Sailor was the last thing they did, which is an even older song, obviously. I know what I'm talking about. That's gorgeous. I love some of the extra harmony they've thrown in here. Let's do our usual quick hunt and see what the information is they have provided us with. Arrangement Ellie. Oh, interesting. Is that a first for me? I think it might be. I think I'm used to Lane and Jeff doing the arrangements. Ellie! Nicely done, with inspiration from Rod Maurice. Whoever that might be, I'm not sure. Video by Ellie, camera Andy Montejo, audio by Ed, of course, production manager Kathy, filmed at Patty Cake, all of that I could have predicted. And anything after the patrons? No. Awesome. That was so cool. I was expecting the extra harmonies, of course, that's what they do. At the same time, I slightly wasn't, if that makes sense. I'm not quite sure what that means. That's how I'm feeling right now. But that was really cool. I love the gothic vibe they gave the whole thing, from the fact that they used Bach to actually open it, to the fact that they had, the very ornate chairs, the candlelight everywhere, the piano in the background. It gave it this very kind of dark vibe. Actually, if you listen to the words of Eleanor Rigby, some of them are dark as all that. Nobody came to her funeral when she was buried. It's not the world's most upbeat song, is it? So yeah, wow. I just realized I said Bach, Toccata and Fugue in B minor, didn't I? It's D minor. I know my music. I even used to play that on the organ back in the day, so I really should know that that's what that is. That was great. I am going to go back and watch it again, and let's see what I can tease out of it. A lot would be my guess. That in and of itself is fascinating. There's my... Wow, 1 second this time. Going straight in with no warning, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the first note is heard before there's any light on the screen at all. We're in black. We're in full fade out, and the first note happens, and it's on the second note we start to see anything at all. Not only going straight into it without a moment's hesitation, but going straight into it with not the song, with a piece of classical music to introduce it. And you listen to it, and actually it's such a good fit. It took me a second when I started listening to that first time to go, oh, this isn't Eleanor Rigby, this is the Toccata and Fugue. Because there's something about the style that really, really works. That's an excellent choice to put this in front of. I'm really impressed with that. Great start. And now we open up on this gorgeous scene with the four of them on these lovely ornate chairs. I love the casualness of it all. Even Jeff sitting with his legs crossed. Actually, there's an interesting kind of symmetry here, isn't there? I'm just looking at the way that they've set this, and it's kind of cool. You've got this trio off to one side, and then Jeff doing his own thing. But you have Lane sitting slightly to the right of his chair, Ellie sitting slightly to the left of his chair, so that they kind of frame Janon and form this little trio that's doing their thing. And then you have Jeff cross-legged, looking different, setting himself slightly apart on the one side. That's a really cool idea. It's a nice way of presenting something, kind of having this in sections immediately, even if it's just a small visual statement. Also, I want Lane's suit. That is amazing. I would totally wear that. I like the little touches, the pocket squares, the flower. There's little things here, and I love the splashes of colour that are in the centre of this. There's only colour in the centre. We have dark suits on the outside. We have this vibrant kind of red-orange, there's a word for that, a name for that colour, and it's not coming to me, and this very pale blue right in the middle, framing the purple light coming out of the back. That is then proceeding to give a little colour to these white candlesticks, but not a lot of it. It's a hint. It looks almost UV, actually. But it's that hint down the one side. They're not lit. They are simply picking up some of the light that's coming their way. And that is a significant difference. What I mean to say is there is not a light deliberately pointing at them in order to make them visible. But they are catching that colour, which is really, really nice. And then just the candles splayed across the entire screen. And these two darker candelabras, or not quite sure what they are, they're almost like a torch holder, or a sort of freestanding sconce next to the piano. Like this eclectic mix of wrought iron and wood and then 4 guys sitting there looking chill, producing a cappella Bach. I mean, what a start! What a start! Also, I'm trying to see. I'm assuming that's Ellie, who's just on the do, 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 do. The cleanliness of that, being able to repeatedly produce a note high. I know Ellie's range is high, but it's still quite high. On a sharp, like do, do, do. You can hear it even in my voice there wavering a little bit. The do, do. Like, I'm exaggerating there, obviously, but it's the cleanliness with which he's hitting those high notes is incredible. I love the I love this thing of just having this like back and forth between them. It's the right way to do it if you're going to do an a cappella version of this arrangement, because singing the whole thing by yourself would be a nightmare. It's a really nice touch. I think they've managed. Ellie's arranged that really, really well. I also like Jeff's line. It's not what you would expect it to be. There's a little bit of rhythm pushing going on here. Do 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 do, going on there. It comes slightly. Hang on. Yeah, so that's on because it's an upbeat. So it's on the 3 and 4. 1, 2, do 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 do. And so he's already holding that note on from the 4 and going into the new bar. So we've got this little bit of rhythm pushing going on that's giving us something really interesting to listen to. I like this. I am going to move on, I promise. And I like that too. We go to that where the trio holds these nice smooth notes, but you still have do, do, do coming from Jeff. He's still keeping that pulse going by having staccato notes. They haven't all gone into a smooth section. That's really effective. It's a nice switch up there. That's great too. These lovely little scales or partial scales coming from Ellie, just punctuated by chords. Again, now the tempo is almost being kept by the melody because traditional Bach writing, there's a lot of quavers, North American, eighth notes. There's a lot of eighth notes, so we've got that da 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 da. We don't need something on the first beat of every bar, so it allows these nice rhythmic interjections that are giving us an element of percussion by, almost, it's not a beat, but it's a statement. We're getting these very, very sharp statements over that section, and then and we get that lovely finish off, just a gentle slowdown, just a slight rallentando, and then that sforzando, that boo. Sforzando being the musical term for where you start out with a strongly struck note, but immediately pull it back, and then increase back into being louder again. So do, and it hasn't finished when we come in with the melody for Eleanor Rigby. It just pushes out of the Toccata and Fugue. That's great.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been. Lives in a dream.
I love that straight away we get a beat. Well, straight away this is set in a contemporary setting. It's interesting. We've come out of Bach Toccata and Fugue, which is very frequently realized in arrangements with kind of electronic beats and that sort of thing, because it's the kind of music that really permits that. We go into that in Eleanor Rigby with this strong bass line, this strong percussion, but we have this lovely melody line over the top. And even straight off the bat, that's a sad note, isn't it? Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice where her wedding was. It's not. That shouldn't be the bride's duty, This song fascinates me. It's such an extraordinary blend of melancholy and pretty music and darkness that you need to listen to the lyrics to really hear. If you just listen to the song, generally, you might not hear that.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been. Lives in a dream, waits at the...
Oh, Jeff's line there. Dum 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 dum. Like, lovely. His motion there, the way he's moving around, it's giving us a really interesting bass line. He's not sticking... Like, there's a lot of passing notes in what he's doing. Even there, that dum, 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 the minor seventh to the major seventh back to the tonic. It's such a nice little run-up leading us back into the next line of the song.
Has been, lives in a dream, waits at the window.
Dum, dum, dum. Yeah, it is that. Sorry, just making sure I was right.
Picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been. Lives in a dream.
And I love that we're basically just getting a pulse from Lane. We're just getting that... Doop, doop, doop. It's nothing else. It's not complicated. We're not starting this out complicated. And Eleanor Rigby, it's one of those weird things. It is a very complicated song and yet not a complicated song all at the same time, which is something the Beatles were actually really good at. Their songs were deceptively tricky to actually play and perform a lot of the time, and they make it sound so easy, which is wonderful. I have a huge amount of respect for them for that.
Waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door.
I mean, what's that about? Like, we're going full Lovecraft here. Wearing a face that she keeps in a jar by the door? That lyric is dark. I'm not going to do this the whole way through the song, but if you think about that, wow. Whew.
Lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the...
Oh, and that lovely ooh harmony underneath. It's subtly back. It's there, it's supporting, but it's in no way interfering with the melody. That's gorgeous.
At the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door.
I'm just trying to think who that is, actually.
Lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in...
So obviously there's some double tracking going on here, because that is not one harmony line, and we can very clearly hear Lane's vocal percussion and Jeff's bass line, so I'm assuming that they've recorded the trio harmonizing, or it's possible Ellie's double-tracked himself. It's hard to tell with ooze. With consonants in there and certain vowel pronunciations, it's significantly easier to hear a double track because you hear patterns and enunciation and intonation that you recognize. Ooh is a little bit trickier. It tends to be, you know, within a particular language and dialect, it'll often be pronounced pretty much the same. Sorry, quick cut there. My backdrop here fell down when I wasn't looking.
Waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for?
That's interesting too. We introduced that the hard like snare percussion there, just as a very, very open rhythm.
By the door. Who is it for?
The dunk, 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 and then the break. The percussion, Lane's percussion here is so effective. It's giving us such a focus on the words and the way that the melody is moving by where he's dropping it in and out and how much he's applying, and it's giving us a sense of build to the song without necessarily constantly building, like this pullback for a second and then re-entry. Really effective.
In a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? All the lonely people, where do they all come from?
That's so effective too. I'm really impressed with Lane's work in this. Going that you've got that dunk dunk dunk, and then he immediately pulls right back into this very electronic kind of phasey. It's very sibilant. It's very in the background. It's gone away from. It's been so punchy for a few seconds, and then we've lost it right into the back of the arrangement, and it's so effective back there, just milling around underneath these questions.
People, where do they all come from?
Even there's a little effect on the voices.
all come from.
It sounds a little bit. We've had a little bit of the top end taken off, so it's a bit more in the. It sounds darker, slightly underwater almost, and then it gradually peels back in again. They've EQ'd it back in. It's very effective. I like this a lot. It's giving it a lot of atmosphere to this.
Lonely people, where do they all come from?
And as they go up into these gorgeous chords we have here, that top end has come back. And I don't think they've actually taken any bottom end out, but it's like we've had the bottom end cut out because they've gone higher. And so we're getting this fluctuation of where in the frequency spectrum we're hearing sound at any given moment. Sometimes it's a little higher, sometimes it's a little lower. There's a lot of play at work in this song, and it's really working for me right now. Also, is there something to the lonely people being... oh my goodness, excuse me. The lonely people being sung by Jeff, who is slightly alone, slightly to one side of this. Also much deeper, significantly separated from the voices that are around him. Like, they're all up top and he's singing down here. And it's giving us this sense of one being apart from the others, which is really just emphasizing the message that's built into the song. This is really, really interesting. And I love that you get the fade to black and immediately back in again. And notice the cut, unless I'm much mistaken. Oh no, interesting, it's not. We're almost getting like a little two-stage fade. It goes dark and then we lose the outline. There's a little outline almost left behind. And then it cuts back in the same way. I thought for a second that the cut back in was quicker. I thought that the shift there, it came back in slightly harder, but I don't think it does. We do come in with a bang, however. Lane's suddenly gone into a much more full percussive arrangement. And this that just hangs over the black whilst we faded to it, and then suddenly they come back in now. This is really cool. Sorry, I'm getting into minutiae here, but there's so much going on in this arrangement. This is so nice because we've got this lovely look at all this very smooth line there on that chorus line, but you've got Jeff now actually producing. Obviously, Lane is very kind of staccato and stuff because he's doing the vocal percussion. That makes sense. But we do have a vocal line doing it well in Jeff's like he's moving around a little bit, but he's setting up for when we get back to that do 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 sort of figure that we've got going on. You get it in his bass line here. And I love how they've got the light changing colors in the background. It's making the those white candle holders change slightly as well. It's a really cool... They do some cool things with visuals in this. I haven't focused on it as much because there's a lot to talk about in the vocals right now. But I really like what they're doing here. And I love this cutting where you have them sitting on the same chair, filmed from pretty much the same angle, so we can just cut in and out of the people. This is really well done. You can just see very slight, just a gentle, very gentle pullback on the camera. They've obviously been very, very careful with recreating that camera push for each of those 4 shots because it's so nearly perfect. There's just a slight jar as you cut between each one, but it's so subtle. They did that really, really well, and it's effective because we have so much staccato rhythm. Having staccato cuts makes complete sense. I like that too. Jeff's line here. Like he's moving. He's in his descents. He's still adding slight jumps up here and there. Like there's a lot of play in terms of how people are getting places. There's little passing notes. There's additional, chord slides down and things like that. And it's giving so much motion to this song. It's really cool. Oh, that riff too. People. Really cool. Little things. It doesn't stand out at all, but it just adds to the texture of the song. I just like that. Father Mackenzie. A little hit there from Lane. Father Mackenzie, incidentally, was originally going to be Father McCartney. That was the original lyric for the song, but Paul McCartney felt like people would think it was his dad he was talking about, and so changed it to Mackenzie. Random tidbit for you.
Father Mackenzie, writing the words of a sermon that no one will hear.
Woo! Ah, this little rock belt that we've got going on here from Ellie is so cool. The little bit of growl in the voice that he's giving, it's giving it a real push. Like, you feel the tension there. You feel like he's really pushing these lyrics forwards. And this lovely repeated da 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 da. Really, really nice melody. I love what he's done with this. He's just really just taken off, made this his own for a second. And it's really effective. And it comes out of this lovely Father Mackenzie, which is already a bit pushed by the group, and then to have him as that feature for a second is great.
Father Mackenzie, writing the words of a sermon that no one will hear. No one comes near, look at him working, down in his socks in the night when there's nobody there. What?
Oh! Those ha's over that. I love it. It's almost like they're laughing at the misery of the poor man being on his own, writing a sermon no one will hear. Again, this sense of loneliness. And it's lovely. Ellie, having just come out of a really riffed line that he's made his own, going then to Jeff, who is simply singing the melody. It's perfect because it lets us slide between tradition in terms of how the song was originally written versus contemporary in terms of high and low. Like, the amount of texture in this arrangement is enormous. Ellie's done such a fantastic job with this.
In the night when there's nobody there. What does he care for?
And again, this same thing. We've brought in this sort of snare hit effect that we've got going on here, only to cut it out before we come back. I love how that's like that little lead up to the breaks in the drum part. Very, very effective.
What does he care for all along?
What? Jay, again, just makes that his own for a second. That lovely riff line. Why does he care for? And then we come back in on All the Lonely People. But I love that they give it a moment to sit.
What does he care for all along?
Like, it's in time, but that break for just holding on for a second before they come back in again, it just gives us a moment to think about, why does he care for what? All the Lonely People. Brilliant writing. Brilliant.
What does he care for all the lonely people?
Oh, these chords! Wow! I love what they've done here, adding in this kind of major clash with the harmony we would expect. It works so well, but it's so not what we anticipate. It's brilliant.
For all the lonely people, where do they all come from? Oh.
And then we go back down to that minor, our tonic minor, and it sounds like we were never anywhere we shouldn't be. That's great arranging. Well played, Ellie.
Where do they all come from? Oh, all the lonely people, where do they all belong?
I love the repetitions of Lonely People too. It's nice that it's kind of pushing in that point. This is about lonely people. Where do all the lonely people come from? And they were just emphasizing that by allowing it to be said more than once at a time. It's very effective.
Lonely people, where do they all belong? Oh, look at all the
great fill. Lane is just killing everybody's killing this. Like, this is so I love, there's something about this arrangement, even though they're double tracking themselves a little bit. I think because it's the four of them, they're getting so much time to shine here. And I love that we're cutting to them at the appropriate moment, but there's still this full arrangement happening at all times, except in these few small breakdowns here and there. It's so good. And I love that we go from this one, the first one of these has this very and it keeps that momentum so in place because it's at exactly the same level as what's being sung around it. And this time we just pull right back. The percussion is just where it was. So's the bass, actually. It's the melody and harmony of that Eleanor Rigby that are sitting back in the arrangement. And that's a really interesting choice, because we keep the power going, we keep the momentum going, but we lose some of the... They pull back on the force of the melody line. And that's a really nice choice there, because it just gives it a slightly introspective moment. All the lonely people, Eleanor Rigby, yeah, she's one of them. That's a really, really nice touch.
Eleanor Rigby died at the church and was buried along with her name. And nobody came.
Oh, that's lovely. You get this moment of something quite poignant. She died at the church. She's still at this church. This place that has obviously had a lot to do with her life. Could be a positive thing, and so we have this lovely ooh, whatever the notes are that they're singing, these chord progressions that carry on through, and then they just drop out. Nobody came. What a great choice to spike that loneliness at the last minute in the song. That is so good.
Eleanor Rigby died at the church and was
oh, and that chord too. Woohoo!
Eleanor Rigby died at the church and was buried along with her name.
Oh, that harmony is incredible. That harmony is so good. It's so rich. It gives you, it expands, and yet it's never quite settled. It's never quite a comfortable harmony once we move away from that first chord. And that gives us, it enhances the slightly unsettling feeling of this. Are we going to end up somewhere where we're comfortable? Well, no, we're not. For a moment, you wonder if it might resolve there, but it doesn't. This is, oh, well played.
Church and was buried along with her name, and nobody came. Father Mackenzie wiping the dirt from his hands as he walks from the grave. No one will save.
Oh, again, these lovely lines. Oh, damn, Ellie. Wow. Both the singing and the arrangement. Man. This is great, and I love this time we actually get the k as the primary beat under that whole line. It doesn't just come in at the end, and yet we are also once again leading up to that cutoff moment. Very, very effective. Want to go back on that
Mackenzie wiping the dirt from his hands as he walks from the grave. No one will save.
Notice for that whole previous section too, Jeff was just on a single note. Dum, 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 dum. Whatever the rhythm was. His rhythm was shifting, but he was on one note that entire time. It's not quite a drone. A drone would imply it kind of kept playing, but it's got this sort of solid bass underneath that doesn't shift anywhere, so we have this interesting flex of the chords, because as they change, we have this note underneath that is keeping us rooted where we are. It's also changing the tenor of the chords that are coming above, because they're not necessarily coming in a tonic root. We're getting inversions, we're getting additional notes that aren't part of the bass chord. It's just allowing us to shift around, but also keep that. It keeps us in place while also making some things sound a little less like they are in place. It's really, it's a nice device to be using at that point.
From the grave, no one will save.
I also love that the quick cuts between them for those 7 drum beats. Again, you know, we're focusing on everybody. It just gives us but we're also keeping things. It's constantly flashing from person to person. Even though Ellie has this moment, we're not going to let it settle on him the whole time either. It's great.
As he walks from the grave, no one will say. Where do they come from?
Ooh. I love that. I just like that they've changed that into that cool kind of peak moment that they have there with that rising chord sequence. But it's also just nice that the rhythm has changed. All the lonely, lonely people. And it just kind of goes into something that's a little different. We're hearing it's this constant evolution. VoicePlay is so good at. They're changing something every time we hear it.
Where do they come from?
Nice high notes too. That's so unexpected. I didn't see that. I honestly thought they were going to end on that note for a minute. You'll notice I saw it in my reaction. I actually moved the mouse there because I was getting ready to pause if it's going to cut off or what have you. That's so interesting.
Where do they come from? All the lonely, lonely people. All the lonely people.
Oh, it's beautiful. And then just again, as we fade out, that note just hanging over the top. Really, really lovely. Jeff's doing some solid work down here because he's really, as these chords are shifting around, he's really grounding us where we are and yet also taking us to the next place with some of these motion lines that he's got. It's not a walking bass precisely, but he has moments of, you know, occasional tiptoeing from from point A to point B. He just guides us a little way and then sits for a bit and then guides us to the next place. It's a fascinating bass line. I want to go back on that one more time, actually.
All the lonely, lonely people. All the lonely people.
I think VoicePlay has actually managed to get me to a point where I enjoy Tears to Pickady's, or Pickady Thirds, when they do it. Because I like that! And I don't like Tears to Pickady as a device, but I like it. I like that as an ending. Alright, boys, you've won me over. I get it. I love this, though. You get this... all these lonely people who... And we don't expect, with this lovely fade out here, where are we going? What's coming next? Belong. That's so good. It's the only positive thing we've heard in the whole song, and then we feed straight into this chord sequence that ends on a positive chord. We end on a major, a much more upbeat, positive sound than the minor chords of the tone that we have been in this entire time. Wow! Oh, this is so good! Ah, I didn't expect this to be as good as that. This has just completely reinvigorated my interest in this entire song. Like, I liked Eleanor Rigby, but this makes me want to discover it more. This makes me want to listen to this arrangement a lot more, but also go back and listen to the Beatles again and see what they did and what nuances I missed in there. Because I will say, starting this channel, I actually... There's a slight double-edged sword in the sense that I find it hard now to listen to music without being quite analytical about it, but I can be so much more analytical, more effectively so. I'm not saying I can sit there and figure out chords, that's not my skill set for this, but I hear narrative arc, story, intention, meaning so much more than I used to. And I'm really grateful for that, because I get to look at something like this and see how much value and work they've put into making it. And it was excellent. Whew! That was a good one. I really enjoyed that. Thank you to those members of the VoicePlay Discord who recommended it to me. I think, if I remember rightly, I can't remember who posted it first, and then there was just a stream of people saying, yeah, you should do this. So I didn't write them down, I just wrote VoicePlay Discord. So you know who you are. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. That's going to be it from me this week. Thank you very much for joining me for this. I hope that I was able to bring some things to you that you hadn't heard before. Maybe even the entire song, if you hadn't heard the song. If you haven't heard Eleanor Rigby at all, for goodness sake, I mean, obviously in the description you'll see the original VoicePlay video, but for goodness sake, go back and listen to the Beatles one as well. It is marvellous and it deserves to be heard. It's quite an extraordinary song. But yes, hopefully you got something out of my 40-something odd minutes of rambling here. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. Please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you for the 2,000. I am very grateful to you all. Here's to more. Do hit the notification bell so that you know when I'm posting videos. Hint, it's 5 PM on Friday, EST. As often as I can make it. Sometimes more than that. We'll see. And if you would care to, head to buymeacoffee.com/DavidKReact, where you can donate to support the channel. And I'd be very grateful if you do, but there is no pressure to do so. I really appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much. I do hope you enjoyed this. I do hope that you have an excellent 10:13 AM. Let's see if I get anyone with that. I've been close, apparently. I've got the minutes right a couple of times for folks, but not the hour. We'll see if anybody watches this for the first time. I don't know why I do this. It tickles me for some reason. But take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.